quantized, quantified, and all over the place, unified citizens. When things couldn't get any weirder, they'll get weird. Well, hello, it's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope video to step to. Nah, I mean? Now, what did Terrence McKenna say? In the future, things are only going to get weirder. It's going to be so weird that nothing will make sense anymore. And that's that. Today is a little bit of a new type of tea. Take a sip. Reality. Here's an invention for you. Humanity. Variety. It's for you. Pardon the wind. That is the program construct of the above. So the weird things and reality check of what people don't seem to get is things will now change. People will speak about topics you haven't heard of. Things will come to the surface you didn't even believe for it to be true. But now as people do research with people that are archived, you find out things that give you interesting options to make choices to say, you know what, I am no longer for that. What I saw and what I've witnessed, I am not in agreement. People are waking up to the fact of, not meaning to be controversial, you do your own studies. Know the difference between maritime law and constitutional. What is a natural law and what is an unnatural law? What is a law that is enforced by weaponry? And what is a law decreed by a lore and divinity where you know what you're supposed to do? What is free will? What is divine will? How do you use divine will? So free will is based upon, I can do what I want to do no matter the consequence, and as long as I can get away with it, I keep doing that in the dark. Well, when things will be revealed, you no longer have the option. That time is up. The dragon year, and pardon for the wind, the dragon year suggests now get your ducks in a row, get your ish in order, and make sure you own what you own. Your word. Your word is bond, you know. What does that even mean? That means what you say is what you decree. Many have said that. Misusing the magic of what is given. As you lay the law, so it shall be. But as soon as you laying the law interferes with somebody else laying the law, and we no longer have shareable laws or shareable thought waves, we're having problems. Meaning, the phase is changing when it's no longer, how do you say, conjugate, meaning in resonance, meaning in bioresonance with others, which is go all in the one, which is what we are learning. We're learning that from our brain, which is now we find out kind of a mycelium network. So you are a walking, talking mushroom in the body. And you are magic. Whether they put labels around what's what and whatever lures and laws and tactics and tricks they put around you, doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that you exist. So let's bring on the first topic of where humans have an opportunity to learn, especially science. One topic is, and those who are in the know will know what I'm talking about. So you have the great Einsteinian formula of EMC squared. And that's an observation and an opinion. E, as in the energy, is intensity. MC squared, let's take the MC, is the continuity. So you have two forces that you're dealing with. E is the energy, and the MC is continuity or consistency. So you have intensity and consistency. So in order for you to develop a free energy device, it has to come from a conscious that is based on infinite possibilities of creation. It cannot be developed or from a conscious that's based on finite principles. One finite principle is the Big Bang Theory. If you think the universe was all of a sudden birthed from one Big Bang, then you make that finite. And if you study the Vedas or other topics, you go deeper, you realize you got to go into the infinite. In the infinite, there is no Big Bang. There's an infinite inhale, exhale, ongoing. And the smart guru is like, there is something out there that's ineffable, first of all, well, you don't know because your mind can't go there. Your mind doesn't have reach. And even the psychic mind, there are limits for a reason. That's the reason why amoebas don't build bridges. And ants don't have discussions about who has the right of way with traffic cops. Every entity is built for a certain conscious concept. So back to EMC squared. If you have E, which is the energy, the intensity, and let's say by nature the intensity is 360 degrees of power. It's complete. You don't need to add or take away. It's a complete cipher, 360 degrees. That is the intensity. That's where creation comes in. You can't take or add away from that. That will always be source code, unaltered, uninterrupted, past the 12 dimensions. Then you have MC, and MC is the consistency or the continuity of such. So meaning, as you see Earth, centripetal, centrifugal, and all of those labels you have for forces that you observe, there's a continuity. It is uninterrupted. So take the matter for electricity. The minute you interrupt the flow, you have no energy input of the intensity, it stops. Hence, no free energy. You can do and try that with magnets. Magnets will maybe be energy efficient, but not free. Maybe they run 400 years. Maybe we'll build machines that'll run 600 years. Maybe at some point we will have energy efficient devices where they last a lifetime, but they're still consumed. Not to mention that there's coding coming from the sun that actually codes and recodes how life actually emerges. Without the sun here, all of this here not happening. Yeah, sun is the major generator, as you say. You know, Ra, the bee of the light. Have the consciousness of that of what is source, and right now our source here in this star system, third rock from the sun, Earth, is our sun. So you have intensity and continuity. If you steal from intensity, the continuity will be able to transport that with the same intensity. Collapse. If you take from the continuity of the infinite that already is flowing, if you take away from it, collapse. Hence, EMC square is you're splitting atoms. What do you do when you're splitting atoms? And this is the lesson here, and science doesn't seem to get it. Side note, ET's been showing up over and over and over, looking at what we're doing with atomic energy. Atomic energy has no future because it disturbs the layer of fabric and time. It upsets time corridors and dimensions and ways and vortices connected interdimensionally that science has the opportunity to learn. The contactees know, experiencers like me will know. I've been shown on ships how these dimensional layers all work together on all planets, how they're all connected. Now imagine you have a mycelium network, mushrooms in the soil of the woods. And what this mycelium network does, it scans the fabric of what is in the soil. And if there's something that's toxic, it sends back, and this is the amazing part here, and everything is connected. And information to inform the network there's something that is toxic for the environment, that is destructive. So it goes back to the main hub of the mycelium network, recodes and creates enzymes to break down the toxin, to repair. So the repair network is the mycelium network in the soil. Should be your brain. But when it gets misused, fall of Atlantis, fall from planets, there's a side arm of our galaxy that's halfway destroyed. Yeah, well, our forefathers did that. So we're here to, prevent, to not go that route anymore, to transmorph ourselves genetically away from what the natural blueprint is. The way you come here is the way you come here, no matter what you do, however you modify it, no matter what you want to label that. If your soul leaves, there are rules that this doesn't apply there. And you'll come back until you get it right. And nobody can change that. I've seen it, I've witnessed it. I sometimes lucid dream, I sometimes astral project, sometimes at will, sometimes it happens random. So again, atomic energy is basically what you're doing is you're using a lot of energy to disturb the continuity of what the atom already has. And I was told on a ship, at some point we will find out, I need a scientist to help me there, is once we know what the nuclear reservoir of the infinite space of dark matter within an atom is, you will learn how to reinvent the wheel, as in Promethean fire, as in leaning on the infinite quantum realm to get a little bit of energy, which will make it very, very energy efficient without stealing, meaning letting the river run undisturbed by just leaning at it. We haven't found out how that works. And atomic energy in thorium, all of these, still based on disturbing the atomic structure, cannot be the solution. Ships show up. You've seen classified videos that have been released where nuclear warheads were actually made dormant or dismantled by craft coming in, shutting it down. You as a species want to migrate to other planets. Nostradamus has predicted it. You cannot do that with that energy. You did it before. Look at what we did to Mars. We create red and desolate planets and destroy everything with that energy. What do you do with splitting an atom? Well, basically you're basically destroying a micro sun. A life-giving protons, photons, electrons, all of this is in order. And when you disturb that, you disturb nature. So what do they call that? Fallout. What does fallout represent? Fallout represents the unlight, the unlit. What does that do? It has particles running havoc, destroying biological life. Well, that's how a species can go extinct real quick. Well, that's how we managed to sink Atlantis. We don't want to do this again. We want to thrive and ascend with Earth and do it right. So ships come in, kids get input from their angels, the ETs over and over, having indirect consciousness contact, because consciousness and developing of consciousness, especially with fallen consciousness on this planet, is difficult because it's very fragile. So if you have ships come in, dudes that are 15 foot tall with super magical powers and technology unheard of, it can also destroy you. So, since we have learned and we don't want to repeat what happened in the past, we want to do this smooth and smart. We're coming in very subtle through consciousness and consciousness blends, such as scientists like me and others. We are called also revealers of the seventh ray, meaning that through the scientific magic, as we holding our thought management. And it doesn't matter if you are guru in the hills, they did their job, respect, have bodhisattva or Buddhistic consciousness. It is scanned by the divine light how you coordinate your inner thought management and thought hygiene in this realm. And when that light is It's not even, it's like a god or a dispensation angel that hovers above you that has to be pleased with your doings. If you're doing it right, you get rewards, and you don't want to know why? You have decreed it so. Your higher self has made it so. A divine choice has a divine result. An undivine choice will have an undivine result. And there are still hardheads out there trying to ice skate uphill, trying to prove us wrong by, being not nice and not resonant, thinking they can influence the matter their way, and it's going nowhere. Hence, it is suggested once we realize other methods of energy, and that has to do with the quality of what are you channeling in. That's how I'm working with, like, scientists channel. We cannot just read books. I can build scientific things that already defy the law of known physics, and I have physical data and write-ups, and people are still behind on get it, that with photons that you're influencing matter. I can influence liquids, I can influence your blood, the way your iron structures. If you use photons, magnets, scalar wave technology in an alignment of holy places, I did that in my speech where I explained these three things, attract energies that we don't even know of. We call it scalar, we call it tachyon. We have all types of labels. I want to call it phase conjugate. When things make sense and things are in resonance, everything else will fall into place. There's not much for you to do. But figuring out, how do I create something that's resonant? How do I create a resonance that will attract that? Meaning, if you put a lot of crystals in your backyard, of course, naturally, and healing devices and 432 hertz, you are actually creating a vortex or a particular energy as an opening for devas, spirits. Mind you, everything is spirit. So you will attract spirits that will come to the grounds that will actually contribute to the energy that you're creating. And this is what we want. And when that happens, all war stops. What is a war? A war is a conflict based on an old principle. I call it radiogenesis. These wars that we have on the planet right now are old draconian influences that are echoing in those who wage that. But what is a discussion? I'll put it this way, a debate, a war. And what is that? That is a telepathic disconnect. A empathic disconnect. If you empathically feel one another, you speak kind words, you say good things. I had a telepathic input where a being that felt very pleasant said to me, winged words, words that accelerate the good and motivate the good, the constant motion forward into a positive direction, not following labels. And that leads me to channelers and channels. There's a few things I want to share. What I feel as an Arcturian soul and with my experience, and take it with a grain of salt, you don't have to believe me or agree with me, but if a channeler, and I'm not naming names, says a Kool-Aid jab is fascinating or healthy or brings you further, when the result of a Kool-Aid fallout after the Kool-Aid 21 agenda happened, then I don't agree with channels bringing in earthly politics, because the ETs never do that. And higher divine channels never do that. It is the egoic mind and the filter of those who channel the being that say what they want to say in line with what is channeled, and that is still egoic. Not saying to be egoless, we all have to have ego. Ego means energy guided out. For me to talk to you, I need ego. Yeah, I need to guide the energy outward. There's also the Ejai, Egai, the energy guided inward. But if the energy guided outward becomes edging God out, as in the self, that's the limitation you put upon yourself as you speak. So watch your speech and the word wizardry that comes out of your mouth. If a channel tells you what foods to eat, it is also our belief that is egoic. I like what I heard from Bashar, and that's an opinion. And that is neutral unless you take it on. You eat what you are in resonance with. For as long as it is offered in a humane way and a balanced way, not overproduced, not with toxins, the way nature has provided, the way natives live in the jungle to this day, then don't make it a trend or a fashion. What is it or how you eat? You got to look at, and pardon the sound in the background, look at what is your body in resonance with. That shall be put to the body. It makes no sense to be a breatharian or a sun gazer if your body, in a denser reality projection, cannot hold the weight to exist or maintain. So to starve yourself so your organs deteriorate and your kidneys next to fail and suffer is not the way to fast. To fast, the actual word means to eat right. And many people fail in the department of eating cyclical, as in there's a cycle and a circadian rhythm, and eating correct to what's needed. The cool types need cooler stuff. They can even drink ice water at night because they're cool types, but they are hot types. They can eat super spicy foods, no problem for them. It sometimes baffles the mind, side note, how people would inject glutathione into their body and it still be observed they're still aging, but they believe this. Belief system is BS, so be careful what you believe. Not knowing that in the circadian rhythm, when the sun sets, your body produces its own glutathione. Do not cross the barrier of how the body produces glutathione and takes it in. That's why I can pump you in an oxygen tank full of oxygen and you're not breathing regulated air because you need hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, all of these components. You need a good mix in order to create a pumping system. So you understand that this one here is not a pump, it's a valve. That your entire vascular system, top to bottom, is a little sponge that does little things like this. It moves the blood in a spiral pattern and toroidal fields to your entire body. And if that energetically fails, that's when we're having problems. Remove photons from this realm. Done. Remove iron out of your blood. Done. One component missing in the so-called Goldilocks zone, and you don't exist. So the most potent and powerful thing is all people are here, and people discussing and debating and losing themselves in all of these things. You exist. Like the sky is blue for all to perceive, you exist. You're breathing air that surrounds the planet. You continue. Nothing ever stops. So back to the channels. If channels have personal opinions about your love life, I'll question that. If people had an appearance of a holy Messiah, and he says, I'm the only way, and you're sick as a dog, I question that. If you ran to the jungle to take medicine, and you have about 70 trips behind you, and your life is still in shambles, question that. Because the power is not in the medicine. The power is in what is to be shown to you, what is being revealed, and what is the application of you to make it work for you. So I spoke to a doctor that had measured people that went to the jungle, came back from their ayahuasca trip. And she said, Ra, where many people fail? I see that they take the plant, it's the software, and many don't do the installment. And this is the gold for you if you go medicine. I say medicine is the future. The jungle is the pharmacy. Like Dr. Sebi said, if mother didn't make it, don't take it. Everything natural is given to you. There's a library of 20,000 medicinal plants that roughly have been cataloged. and not even indexed, that have incredible enzymic information that they learn from the body to heal you, like reishi, turkey tail mushroom. You know, get into that. Heisho Wu, lion's mane. It's my favorite for like the cognition and cognitive thinking. I've made a tincture that where I'm combining lion's mane, chaga, a little bit of Shilajit, to accelerate and metabolize amino acids going into your brain for the neuroplasticity. Really, really eat smarter. And if you eat smarter, you eat less. So for the breatharians and the sun gazers, if you are sun gazing in Atlantis, you probably need an apple every 3 days. But right now we're not in Atlantis. We are way after the fall. We need 12 bananas to cover a potassium level during the day. So we need supplements right now. How many supplements do we have? I don't know. I heard like over 250,000 supplements are out there. Now combine the supplements that are effectively functional and that are needed for you. So study your gene keys. Figure out what your shadow is in the gene keys and see what amino acid is missing. Many people don't know that. Some people, most are born with amino acidic deficiency. Who takes essential amino acids, which are needed? And you don't produce that every day like that. So keep taking it. That will beat depression and a lot of other things, you know. And I will do courses where I specifically go into the modal of how to create a baseline where things can get different. We're talking about wellness, where people come back with papers and saying, look, my cardiovascular is back in order. I don't know. My doctor says continue what I'm doing, so I'll continue your method. A shaman is a corrector, not a healer. You're the healer. A shaman basically can look into your backyard with a different perspective and storyline and see things that you might not see. Things in this environment change all the time. Do you see that? Do you know when a rock appears or disappears? In the back, you can't detect or see that or tell me. Or things are in the sky that are here one moment, they're not. Can you see it? Can you tell? Sometimes in my videos, people tell me, at the 417 marker, there's this black dot that appears behind you and then it disappears. And it wasn't a bug. Pay attention to your environment. Look around you. Know that you're creating reality. And let's get weird. I saw this video that inspired me very much and opened up a whole nother other can of interdimensional wormholes. You create reality now. Here's the past, here's the future. And they are in constant communication at all times. All your lives that you have lived and you're living, and all your lives that you will be living, and the lives that you are living. A sage is the one that can look into the past, the present, and the future at all times, not lose his mind, and take control of the center modification of where consciousness is centered. There's always a focal point. That is the soul superposition. So I have dreams sometimes when I have to go back into the past. Interesting how the wind picks up. Always when there's an emotional content or things that really get something going. Wind moves. And I wonder sometimes, it's in the city we don't see that, but maybe we're actually literally doing it. So I'm assuming I'm part of that here. As I'm calming down, I notice the wind changes directions. So I have this nightmare where I'm in an apprenticeship, I'm in this company, they're racist, I know I got to keep the job. I have this in my head where I'm like, what would mother think if you lose your job? You know, you got to make it. You need to make this money. Mind you, as an apprentice, I mean, we're living in different times. And as an apprentice, I made $348 a month. Pay your car insurance with that. Eat and go to a club, and maybe drink one Coke on a weekend, or some soda, whatever I did when I was 21. That's how we survived, and we managed. We learned to be resourceful, to realize I will never be in that situation again. I will come out of it. So in that nightmare, I'm back in that company. They're treating me like crap, and I don't know how to defend myself. And at some point, I'm realizing time coordinates and timelines, I'm still there, like as if pieces of myself cannot transcend or ascend because they're not redeemed. So I went back in time in my nightmare, and I'll change the storyline. I shock people. I face the consequence of losing the job by speaking up my mind to tell people what is not right. And maybe you can heal yourself by going back into the past doing that. So if you ever have a nightmare where you go back to something where you were, where you couldn't say anything, you couldn't defend anything, you couldn't defend yourself, you know? When you felt trapped, I was 18, I remember. And it was horrible. Every day going there, horrible. At some point I left that company because I was like, it makes no sense here. I can't evolve amongst monkeys or cavemen people, you know. And I'm not explaining myself as I'm trying to become a technician. How I have to explain my color of my skin. Sorry to say, but it was part of my life in Germany. Having to defend myself and explain as I'm trying to actually fix a TV and a computer and learn the skill so I get my master's degree. This is very disturbing and very unharmonious. So I went back in time, I stood up, I sought those people out, I stood my ground, and I said, this stops, no more. Like Captain Picard said with the Borg, every time they come and invade our space, we fall back. He said, this must end now, the line must be drawn here. And that's what I did. I drew the line. So then in life, bullies stop, bullying and situations stop. You don't make yourself subject to a situation where you get bullied or you get pulled down. But also don't get mad. Get even with yourself. There are things in the past that people have done, and I read this book from Shaman Durek, also very inspiring. It's like you don't have to forgive. There are things that there's nothing to forgive. There's nothing to give from you to say that this is okay. I think acceptance can heal the timeline. You accept that this happened, it won't happen again, and you go back in time and you change it. You make sure that this type of treatment will never approach you again. And you will not give nobody your presence to be treated that way. And as many wise people, and use your filter, because we're in a moment of information Armageddon, we're overflow of BS on social media. Filter out what you're subscribing to. Because subscriptions to BS will cost you like you're subscribing to parasites. So let's say you have like 50 subscriptions running, all of a sudden you realize you're paying $2,500 worth of subscriptions of things and apps that you never use. Unsubscribe. You have a phone, check your subscription manager and look at what you're subscribing to and look at, is that really needed? And don't watch a TV show that you don't like. Watching a TV show and then complaining about what you don't like makes you the hypocrite that is still stuck in the loop of lower dimensionality. So turn off the show. Change the channel. You're the director. You're the writer. You make things happen. Nobody else. You are in power. Not no Anunnakis, no Draconians, or Cabal, or whatever. If you are out in the field, you're not challenging nobody. Guess what? It gets quiet. That's why I moved here. The nonsense and the illusion stops. People want to hear what they want to hear, want to make up what they want to make up, and then thus becoming stuck in the reality that they're creating and saying, it wasn't me. That's not my fault. That has nothing to do with me, but you are attracting all of that, what you are in resonance with. Everything that you are in resonance with, you are attracting. You don't want to hear this. It's not the law of attraction, it's the law of vibration. The universe is a subconscious display of your vibrational state in time and space now. So if you going outside, dog barking at you, this is how you fix your magic. I know I'm going off on many things, but I think I'm letting this data streaming coming in as it wants to communicate. Ask yourself, why did that happen? Or say the person goes to the bank teller, nothing works, the numbers in the account ain't right, he wants to talk to the manager, he holds up the line, nothing but problems. No mindfulness. And if you're not mindful, you're also in trouble. Then another person walks in, the bank teller lady goes, hey, oh, my tax return is $5,000. If you're still in that system. Everybody has different systems nowadays. I don't know, they made a miscalculation, I got money back. And then people say, this never happens to me. And this other person really pays their stuff, has their numbers in order, is mindful. And sometimes it's like dodging bullets. Like, really get out the way, get away from the stuff that's upsetting and not honoring you, and you will rise. Surround yourself with stuff that is lowering you, criticizing you, coming at your existence. Guess what? You will drop in frequency. And then if you want to gossip about and talk about that what is upsetting to you, guess what? You lowered your frequency with them. Things happen to you for a reason. If you've been superficial and you haven't checked your demographics, guess what? The demographics will check you. So if you're going to an environment, let's say I want to set up camp somewhere, I'm looking, where's the water? Where's my water? Is there a riverbed close? What's my food? How's my travel? How's my thinking? Then I find an ideal spot, undisturbed, nothing will ever happen to me, and I'm fine. But let's say you set up camp. Some people, when people move or find new places, where's my water, electricity, gas? Is that in order? Is my contractual agreement in order? Am I in agreement with that? But if I am already going to a place where I'm in disagreement from the beginning, well, you're in trouble. In the long run, you are attracting substance of disagreement that will move you. Get that in order. So that will be a letter to my Raelian friends. We will build a landing platform. We won't need $160 million. And we don't need following. We will have a store. Everybody's free. Nobody needs to do anything but support the good and then come and see once it's done. And it shall be less. So where gurus have contact and then misuse their contact, and many did it. Joseph Smith did it. Rael did it. Many others. You have contact. All of a sudden you're at the table with Moses, Buddha. You name names, all the great names. And then people go, oh, if you sit with them, and Jesus is my brother, and then you're related. And or somebody said, I'm the older sister, I told Jesus what to do. That's when you lose me. Yeah? When sexual freedom goes overboard, kids get involved on a level where it's not agreeable for parents, where I'm like, okay, what I see here and an experience is a distortion. Well, guess what? No landing platform, no contact, following, nobody builds anything, nothing gets produced. I am not in agreement with that. I think we can all agree on that. So let's see what we can build in the future, work out together, and make sense together. And that's what we're here for. On that note, I'll see you, most certainly, on the flip side.